What's up, y'all? Welcome back to In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I'm not, usually a steel string guitarist. I play nylon strings with a radius, crazy things with nylon strings. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. 4th of April, 2025. This is 1/3 of our company. I'll get into the intro. We'll talk about all three sides of us. We'll talk about where clothing sits, and then we'll get into this discussion of episode 94 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, titled A World Without Mirrors. And we'll get into it. So, in the Image Clothing Company, we address the human body, its natural function on the main side, which is one of the thirds of us. We come at it through the skeletal system because it's the thing that doesn't change. The fat content does. The muscle mass changes as well. But the skeletal system only has one position that it can be in every joint within the body and the body as a whole. Only ever working activated in its entirety. That's how the body was designed to be. That's the only way that it actually does anything. Otherwise, there's compensation. We talk about clothing because there's a center line to the human being, a sternum. Behind it, the spine, right here, the trachea and the neck, the nose, the jaw, stabilizing the entire body. And if those things aren't centered, the body is being very much damaged. There's 2 feet, and one is on each side of the center, internally rotating, gripping arches, opposing each other to keep the body just working. And when we place clothing on us, if there's imbalances in the clothing at all, the body will be imbalanced. Oversized clothing in itself is an imbalance. So we talk about clothing, we give free modifications, and the key word is always allowing the human body to work, because we can't get it to do anything. It only does one thing. And that's crazy to some people to hear, but it's true. So that's the main side. Here I discussed what we are, but the gospel of Jesus Christ is the truth of all things, aka is what you could say between those two things, right? Because it just is. There's no opinions, there's no belief, there's no religion with it. It's our living God, the creator of all, Jesus Christ himself, telling us who he is, telling us what all this is, telling us the point of this life. And it's actually really similar to what I say within what we talk about clothing-wise under In the Image Clothing Company. I say the phrase, it's as obvious as it is once you see it. Well, that's how the gospel of Jesus Christ is. We live in a fallen, lost, scary world. If you don't know what's going on, it can be scary no matter what. But if you know what's going on, then you know what's going on. And there's only one truth to this place. We're all here. None of us decided how it worked or that we'd even be here, really. I mean, there has to be something outside of all of us, because you look around and even if somebody's trying to seem better than you, we're all equals. Equally sinful by nature, as I say. I'm messing up left and right, sometimes right and left, But we talk about things as they are here. We talk about universal truths, undisputed things that will never change. Okay? Another third of us is where we play music. In the Image Clothing Company music. I've got music that I've made over there. I address setups and sizings of guitars to just allow the hands to work, because the hands are essentially the shoulders. The feet are essentially the hips. So alteration, because of incorrect setups of guitars, travels through the whole entire body. And I've experienced it. It is emotionally draining, physically painful, and not fun. So I know how it has to be, just like I know how it has to be with clothing. You don't got to believe me, though. I say it, and I say it often, and I have. Under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Don't believe me. Truth is apart from all of us. And I didn't decide it, but I speak things that apply to everybody. Meaning, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, that's what we do here. We really give truth. So, for everybody, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any time period, any part of the earth, clothing needs to sit in the same location, and I will discuss where that is. On the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, I just didn't quite say this as I was talking about our main side within this episode here, episode 94 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, titled A World Without Mirrors. We also address eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, staying hydrated, and how to, what it really means to, keep the body regulated with fluids. We talk about all these things because really it's our key phrase, right? Allowing the body to work. It's not just that we're going to have amazing clothing to sell, but that will also be the case. We really just allow this thing that we've been given, the only thing we actually are promised in this life, our physical bodies, to just do the only thing they actually do. And we can get very, very out of touch with what that is. And it's more common than not in a lot of parts of the globe in modern day for that to be. A lot of people have no idea how their own body works. And that's so weird to even say, but I was one of those people until I was somewhere around 24, and then I started to really dive into all this stuff that is now in the Image Clothing Company. And so, humbling, big time, because I was just doing releases on parts of my pelvis about 10 minutes before I started this episode. So, it's just truth. But where pants need to sit for all the people that I described, which is every human to ever live, wow, truthfully, they need to be entirely above our hips. The waistband of the pants, all the way off, so there's no restriction to the pelvis. I was just talking about how I did releases to my own just a few minutes ago. Yeah, and it's huge, man. Zippers, buttons, drawstrings, pockets, things in pockets, which should never be done. Just uneven seams and all these things, potentially stretchy stuff, which should never happen. The body can't work against stretch. Muscles contract, stretch goes the opposite direction. Now your body's damaged. Okay. All those things are just on the waistband of pants, potentially. The angle needs to be slightly higher in the front than the rear because, tags as well, just on the waistband alone. If we're just talking about things on the waistband, belts and whatever that could be labeled as, anything you place around you to hold your pants on, that's not just the pants alone. Yeah, there's so many things that are just around and in and potentially hazardous, seriously, when it comes to the waistband alone of pants. But the reason why they need to sit higher in the front than the rear, and it just needs to be very slight, is because the core muscles can only get shorter to work. And that's the only way that's ever going to happen, period. The tops that we wear, they need to be where the seams on top of our shoulders are evenly behind the bones that are on the peak of the top of our shoulders. Because our shoulders only ever work behind our head. These muscles, the upper trapezius, they connect to the very base of the rear of the skull, along the spine, which is the neck, the cervical spine, and then connect to the top/rear of the shoulder up here. So there we go. Button-ups are different, right? I mention it when I do. There's a band of material rather than just one singular seam, so they naturally just sit behind the shoulders. The edge seams of our clothing, shoulder stitches, need to ideally be right at the very edges because that's where the shoulder moves, as you can see me right now, right? If you're watching in visual plus audio, In the Image Clothing Company podcast is available in that form, and then also just audio only. Now, two things we call prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company. There's not always laces in shoes, so when there is, right? There's not always tags in clothing, so when there is. There's only one way to weave a rope across the top of the human foot, which is all a lace is. It's just a term for the type of rope we put in shoes. And have that be shaped the way that the human foot is. That's In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. Wherever you find us ever, just look up our company name, 5 words as a whole, okay? In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, with that, we tie our shoes evenly over toward the center line of the human being. Otherwise, alteration to the body, greatly. To the tip of the head and to the tips of the fingers from a rope on the feet. Yeah. Secondly, we remove all tags from clothing. They're either causing a physical gap, which will cause you to speak like that potentially. Because if there's a tag inside of clothing, it's going to cause a gap. And the skeletal system only has one position. And so now it's out of that position if there's something in the way. And in addition to that, what happens often is the musculature is not allowed to activate where the tag's placed. So then you've got parts of the body trying to compensate. The body will never work within compensation. So included within shoes, any tags. Okay. So here we are. Let me just settle in. I don't know. I just feel very settled. That's what I mean is like, I almost feel wrong about how content I am. And that's funny. I think a lot of that's, regardless of the podcast episode or what, I think it's just unworthiness, like how I feel, because I don't deserve to. Meaning I know I don't deserve to. Redemption. God, the one and only, Jesus Christ. I'm a sinful boy, man. Even as a full-grown man with however many kids I end up having and however big this company that I founded gets and however many years of life experience I have behind me, I'm a sinful boy. I always will be. So I don't deserve anything that is good or pleasant or peaceful or content, but I feel it sometimes, and lately it's been just crazy to accept. So, episode 94 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, A World Without Mirrors. Check this out. I was thinking earlier, I was at the grocery store, I'm like, man, I used to be obsessive over myself. Anytime there was a mirror, I'd look in it. I used to have hair, though. Now my hair's cut to 3 millimeters in length as far as 2 days ago when I trimmed it. But I used to have long hair, somewhere around 2 feet long. And I used to just try to look all nice, man, and check the mirrors all the time when I was getting any option to, or, even a reflection of a window. I was thinking, man, so humbling, it's crazy. Because I don't do it anymore. I very intentionally don't look in mirrors. I mean, even if there's a moment when there's one right there and it's like, hey, I could just turn and look into this mirror real quick, I stop myself and make it like a point to myself to not look at myself. Because what would it change if I did or didn't? Right? If we live in a world where there's no reflections, no mirrors, no way you can see yourself, what you would see is all the things around you that you feel inside. I've talked about Michael Jackson on In the Image Clothing Company podcast and how he started with the man in the mirror. He has a song titled that, Man in the Mirror. Mirror, mirror, mirror. All those things, because it's the same thing, just, said slightly different. And what if you didn't know what that guy looked like? Or that girl? Well, you can feel it, you know how you feel inside sometimes. That's funny, because sometimes. But if we're looking around at the world, and we don't know what we look like, what are we going to see? Because often what happens is people see in the world what they want to see in themselves. But maybe they don't actually see it in themselves. And so they try to make the world be what they feel like they're lacking, but even visually in themselves. So I was thinking, what if we didn't even know how we looked or what we looked like? We'd see the world differently. And I know that from personal experience because of what I was just discussing, how I intentionally don't look in mirrors. Occasionally, I'll wash my hands, and it's so common to have a mirror directly above the sink where I'm washing my hands. In most places that happens. Bathrooms. So yeah, I'll look in the mirror here and there, but what if we couldn't? What if we didn't even know? what we looked like. The thing is, we have things nowadays we call cameras. We've had them for a while. But now they're in abundance at this time period, right? And people look at themselves more than they look at other things a lot of the time. People are more concerned with how they look than even knowing about anything else that exists in a lot of cases. I've been in places like that personally. Oh yeah. What if you didn't know? What if you didn't even know what you looked like? What if it didn't matter? Talk about the blind leading the blind. Well, that's what we are. We're blind to what we don't know, and there's a lot too. And so there's a lot that we don't. But what if we really couldn't see anything about ourselves visually? We'd navigate this whole place that we're at so much differently. Guaranteed. Don't take my word for it. That's crazy. Can we talk about that? I mean, I know I already am, but I'm going to continue to, whether you say I can or not. You know, if you think you look like this and you want the world to fit in with what you view yourself as, then you're going to try to change things around you, and you can't. Because you're only trying to change things around you in those cases to cater to what you think you are. Because what you see or don't see in the person that you didn't decide to be. So a world without mirrors, right? That's kind of crazy. Man, a world without mirrors, huh? Well, here's the thing. All right. I'm still here, man. I mean, we're still rolling, but part of it is I'm in a lot of physical pain. Darn it, dude. As real as it gets, right? I'm in pain, dude. Past few days have been so hard. Yeah. We wear things nowadays, you know, and we always have, and human beings are just what they are. And within the scripture, you know, it talks about fine twined linen. It talks about expensive apparel and how we don't need those things, you know, and really the focus and the point is that those things can't help us. It's not going to make us any better than we are. Because it's a visual thing, and we're not a visual being. We're actually spirit children. We're the indigos. Go tell every friend you know, and hold hands till you are invincible. We are inside you, and we're calm and yet collective. Jaden Smith. Those are his words right there. I don't know if that was exactly word for word, but it was in one of his songs. I was thinking about that when I was thinking about making this episode. But yeah, man, I mean, well, it's like that episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled, It's Not Outside Yourself. And a mirror is. And whatever you're seeing in that mirror is actually something outside of you. Whatever you are is what you are, and it's inside you. It's something that's there just as real and just as strongly, just as much and the exact same if there's no eyes to see. But I think what's funny about that is within Scripture, we talk about being given eyes to see. And it's funny, I closed my eyes right as I started saying that. I didn't do that intentionally. For those of you in audio only, I just wanted to make sure and say that because it's funny. I did, yeah. I'm in pain. I'm in so much pain. And so I'm just trying to, keep going. If I'm supposed to be speaking more, I'm going to keep doing it. But I am hurting, dude. Just my body adjusting. Getting out of these chronic patternings. It's just so much to deal with. It's crazy. Crazy. Unbearable, seemingly, to me personally, at times. It's been crazy. So, we've been told we've been given eyes to see, and really what that means is to see the truth. And somebody who's blind can see the truth just as clearly as somebody who has really good vision. But in a world without mirrors, now you're essentially a blind person to yourself and what you could potentially look like. But even that in itself, it's an interpretation, you think you look this way, and you might not think you look all that attractive. First of all, what does that even mean? But second of all, you ask somebody, and maybe they say yes, and you ask somebody else, and maybe they say no, and now who's right? Right? So a world with no mirrors, what are you going to do? You going to try to find one? You going to try to look a certain way still, or are you going to just kind of stop caring? Because we can. We've got every ability to just be content with not having to look a certain way, because what if we didn't? What if we couldn't? Some people get some severe burns, on their face. Some people are born with things like cleft palates and, parts of their body that's deformed and it's on their face. Well, what are you going to do then, A lot of those people don't even like to look in mirrors at times of their lives. You going to blame them? And are they any better or worse than you? And who's to say again, right? They'd probably be content living in a world with no mirrors. Because a lot of times what that does to people is help them see that they don't need to be able to see themselves. Because what they can do is see Christ in everybody else. Jesus Christ is everybody else. There's scripture that says stuff like that. Like, whoever you look to, if it's your mother or your brother or, your best friend, if you treat them how you want to be treated, right? Inasmuch as you've done it to the least of these, you have also done it to me, says Jesus Christ to us, right? We're all made in his image. And so really the thing is, look around at everything else around you, and if you can see it like you can see Jesus Christ, and meaning our God is perfect, and we're not, but, we can emulate him, and we can have an eye single to his glory, and really our eyes can look at things and see them as glorious. We can see the good in all things. And a lot of times what you're doing when you're looking into a mirror is trying to find anything that's a flaw in your mind or your perception within your own being that you can change, right? Move a few strands of hair that were in a location you didn't think they should be, because now since you've looked into a reflection, a mirror. Or people who wear makeup, some men do, more common for women too. And yeah, let's say you get a little bit of smear happening to your makeup in some type of way, and so you look into a mirror and try to fix it, right? Your mascara runs because you weren't actually crying even, but it was a little windy outside and your eyes started to water. So you look for the nearest reflection to try to sculpt an image of you that's not actually you, because it just kind of comes and goes, like that fat content we talk about, right? Life with no mirrors. What would you do in a world with no mirrors? What would you do? What would it be? Anything different than this one? The answer is no. As far as what it actually is, as far as the truth, as far as seeing things as they are, as far as what we try to talk about solely under In the Image Clothing Company and all three sides. Although I'm sinful by nature and I do have opinions, even though I don't care to, and I do say things wrong, even though maybe sometimes I, don't want to, or don't want to admit that I could, or whatever, But no matter what, I mean, what we're really seeing is a lot of times just what we want. What we want it to be, and then it's not what it is. And that's crazy. Like I'm saying with the makeup, I talk about makeup, dude, and I do not like it. I will never find a woman more attractive because she's placed makeup onto her. That's disgusting. Holy cow, are you offended? Great. Because what is really there? What are you? I mean, you're just what you are until you place something on you, and now you're just partially covered. It's like you're behind a blind a little bit. When they go hunting, people, for ducks or for any animal, they'll put up things in front of them to camouflage them and hide them, and they call it a blind because it makes the animals a little bit more blind to being able to see the human beings with the gun or with the bow and arrow, with the swords and scimitars, right? Shout out to the Book of Mormon. All manners of weapons of war. You see what I'm saying, dude? No, in all seriousness, that's where I am still, is being serious. It's just as real as it gets. Human beings wear makeup, and sure, it's your choice, but what isn't your choice is changing who you are, and that's what you're intending on happening, but it's only for a time, and really it's just a false sense of you. It's not really you. So you look into a mirror to fix the makeup, and what hasn't changed is the only thing that's real that's underneath that. So there's plates in the head. I'm gonna say this. In the physical skull of a human being, it's kind of like the earth. Tectonic plates are on the earth, right? The earth is a big spherical ball, a globe, as we say. But it's made up of sections that are kind of like split, if you will. Yes, the crust of the earth. The head of a human being is quite similar. Yes, we have a skull and it's all one thing, but it's made up of little plates, if you will, different shaped parts that, as a child, aren't actually fused together. A baby's skull could actually be like morphed and moved if you squish it. That's why babies shouldn't lay on hard surfaces with their head. And we're intentional to do that if we are. That's an ideal thing to do, is just be very aware of how children are very fragile when they first come into the world. In all ways, actually, because they came from God, and now they're placed into hell. Truly. Here's the thing. The back of kids' heads, babies specific, into toddler age, and then whenever it stops being not fused, because it has become fused, all the plates in the skull of the human being, sometimes the back of babies' heads can get very much flattened, because they are laying on something that is quite hard, and the physical skull will kind of morph. So what I was doing here a few minutes ago, those of you in visual could have seen, visual plus audio, because you're probably also listening if you're watching as well. I was doing some massaging here with my thumbs to parts of the plates of my skull, because I have been able to feel plates within my skull actually move as my head position has. We talk about the upper trapezius muscles so often because they're the things that raise and lower the shoulders. There's other muscles within the neck as well, but those are the biggest muscles that would be doing that, as far as I'm aware. I don't have to be so correct about which muscles are what and what way exactly or whatever, right? I mean, that's what it is. Meaning, the position of my cervical spine, meaning my spine, that is the neck, the upmost part of the spine, has changed so much. The position of my neutral head, the position of my jaw, all the jaw pain that I've been describing that I've had. If you watch past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, you can actually watch and hear my jaw pop here and there through some of these most recent past episodes within the past 10, maybe, give or take. So the plates of my skull have moved quite a lot. And, going 24, 25 years with my head being in whatever position it was to now such a drastic change throughout the entirety of my being, and being on the same earth and gravity still affecting me the same, and having all the same parts of my body, but their positions being so drastically different. There's like plates of my skull that are protruding out right here, and they're not like meshing up so well. So when I talk about I've been going through immense physical pain, yeah, I mean it, okay? Not that anyone was questioning, and not that I'm trying to convince. I love how real it is. It's crazy. Also, I talk about how the ears are really some of the biggest things to focus on when it comes to what people call quote unquote posture. Getting that jaw to be able to actually tuck into a neutral position, the cartilage within our ears can get excessively built up just because of our shoulders being in incorrect positions for potentially years, but also anything we place into the ears, which happens nowadays in modern day. There's things that we do put inside of our ear canals, which should never happen because they're only the shape that they are and they're designed to be the shape they're supposed to. And then you place something inside of them and it enlarges the gap between the rear of the jaw and then the base of the skull back here. And so that's just the ear canal. That's all that is. And so much jaw pain can come from that. And then again, like I'm discussing, the plates of the skull here, I mean, the skull structure can just change so much because of those things. So, yes, a world without mirrors. Because, yeah, I mean, what if you didn't know how your makeup looked that you decided to wear? Or what if you just didn't decide to wear it because you didn't know how it looked if you did anyway, right? What would you do? Because you're still you, right? And that's the point of all this, and that's it, dude. Is no matter what, at the end of the day, we're always and always are just only at the beginning of the day as well what we are. And no matter what that visually looks like, it doesn't change what the human being is. So we get very caught up nowadays on what we look like. Potentially, a lot of people do. I have, yeah, greatly, as my focus for a long time, and in a lot of times in my life. Dental work as well. Dental work, I've talked about my root canal. There was an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, meaning there still is, titled The Root Canal Story. I had a root canal in my front left tooth when I was somewhere around 13 years old, and even still today at 25 years old, there's excessive filling material there on the rear of my front tooth. I had my jaw in such a terrible position between that time and now, and like I'm saying, still, to a slight degree. So that changed the entirety of my skull's positioning and my body to the tips of my toes, to the tips of my fingers for many years. Gosh darn it. I've been through a lot. Let me complain about it. But I'm also the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and we're going to allow countless lives to be changed through the truth that we talk about here, as mine has been. Okay. So, yes. What if you couldn't see what you looked like, right? What if it didn't matter? Well, I mean, here's the other thing, though. I mean, a lot of times I think we pick partners, like significant others, if you will, that look how we think we do, you know? I mean, there's that phrase that has been used. People talk about other human beings being quote unquote out of their league, right? Or like too good for them, quote unquote. First of all, no. We're all equal human beings, no matter what anybody wants to believe, even myself, at any time, ever, no matter what, and no matter what. That's 3 times I've said it. But that does happen often. People will think that they look a certain like level of good. Holy cow, right? And so they'll look for other human beings who like maybe looks as good as they do on the scale of measurement of what that could mean to that human being who is choosing to believe those things that are false. And so what'll happen then is you might pick a partner in life who looks how you do. And they're a member of the opposite sex, and maybe they're quite a bit taller, or shorter, skinnier, fatter, or whatever. But however you perceive yourself visually looking, you'll look for, meaning a lot of people do, a member of the opposite sex who you believe looks similar to you in those ways. That happens. So what if you didn't know, right? What if you had no idea how you looked visually? I mean, what if you just didn't even know, man? I mean, what would you do then? right? Because we live in a world too where so many products and so much of our days and so much of our preparations for like events and then so much of the events themselves. Let me change the grammar. So many of the events themselves are structured around just how we look, right? Beauty salons, which what is beauty? Who's to say, right? Skin deep if you're wearing makeup, because once you take it off, you're not beautiful anymore. Unless you didn't know how you looked. Then beauty's on the inside, where it always resided, because the only thing that you really are always resides on the inside, because it's not outside yourself. Right? I mentioned that episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Now here's the thing, dude. What we've been saying the whole time. I'm furthering it though. As I'm going through it, dude. If you're watching this, you're watching it. If you're listening only, I'm still kind of massaging the right side of my skull. Also, tags and hats, bro. I talk about tags because it's as real as it gets. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. Talk about fluctuation and dynamic. I'm a musician, truly. But yeah, tags and hats, dude, because I wore hats for years. And many hats that I wore, almost every single one of them, if we're just going to say the truth, let's do that, because that's the only thing that there is. It had a tag within it. And so even work uniforms, there were jobs where I had to wear a hat at work. And it was just about always placed right here on this right side. And so as I'm saying all the plates within the skull, there's also musculature across the entirety of the head. Underneath the skin between that and the skull itself, even though it's a small little area, right? There's really thin little muscles because you can raise your eyebrows and I can wiggle my ears. A lot of people can. And the head can move. The scalp, the actual skin on top of our skull. And yes, and that's what I'm saying. So, right, things get bound up with tags. That's what I say within the intros. Musculature can't activate against tags. Talk about T's and S's. The English language. Consonants. All right, listen to this. I know you already are if you heard me say that, so continue. Beauty can only be skin deep if we're putting things onto our skin. If you're trying to have it look a certain way visually. But if we're not able to even know how we look visually, then beauty just can't even be skin deep. Wow. He just uncovered the truth. Yeah, because I took my makeup off. See what I'm saying? A world without mirrors. It's as real as it gets. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. And right now, what I'm doing is seeing, but not myself in the mirror, because actually, this is as real as it is, dude. Right now, I've mentioned in past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, this probably looks funny too, how I'm just like rubbing the temple of my head, which, by the way, human beings, our bodies are temples. And we talk about Jesus Christ not dwelling within unholy temples, although I'm very unholy. Many times in many ways. Merry Christmas. That's the thing about Christmas, though, right? It's the celebration of our God being born. The one who does redeem us from being in unholy temple. Holy cow, talk about the truth of all things. Can I make it as obvious as it is? Because now you can see it. Because you're not looking at yourself so much. What I was starting that little thing with, and I loved how that played out, I've talked about how I place something, really what it is a pillow that I place here to hold what I filmed these episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast with. And the little tail fringe edge of the pillow sits over the top of the screen of what I'm filming this on that will count the numbers of the time that this is recording so that I don't sit here and look at it and obsess over it trying to be a certain length, but just doing it authentically. Actually, right now, the tail of the pillow is covering the majority of my face to about like down to my mouth. It's like a little triangle part of the corner of that pillow fringe. So I can't really actually fully right now see my own face as I'm making episode 94 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled A World Without Mirrors. Stuff I didn't really, plan in those kind of ways by any means, but here we are. I love it. But yeah, dude, I mean, speaking of hats, though, because I was talking about the tags, and that's probably what has done a lot of this right here. Because I can feel on the right side of my head, above my ear, there's like, what it feels like is, thicker muscle. But what happens really when muscle gets thick and excessively large, it's like bodybuilders. The reason why their muscles are so big is because they're actually straining them, and they're trying to use their muscles in positions and durations that are actually very, very unnatural. That's really, bodybuilders will tell you that, if you have a question on that being the case. That's how that happens. It's called hypertrophy. Muscles get larger when they're overworked. And so having a tag here on the side of my head in a hat, or any human being to ever live, yikes, right? The musculature will just kind of get larger, and maybe it's also scar tissue in there as well, because I can feel it. Because scar tissue, it kind of like rolls and slips around. It's sort of how tendons do. It's kind of a similar texture to tendons within the body. Oh my gosh. When I said the word humbling earlier, yeah. All right. Now, let's continue to talk. Oh gosh. I love this though, what I'm doing here physically. This is great. I've been in so much pain, and this is really something that is benefiting me to do. This release here with my fingers to that stuff I'm discussing on the side of my skull on the right. Well, there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Choose the Right. And I was thinking about that today because that's the case. I discussed it in multiple ways in that episode. That was so like real. I mean, in the sense of like I got like kind of hit with like, wow. That's a bold thing to say. Choose the right. But one of the things I talked about within that was the right side of the body is just about the only side that we actually even need to do anything to release wise, because it's the side of the body that gets inhibited. Clothing patterns are right-handed. I made a video for the main site of In the Image Clothing Company titled The Right-Handed World. And yes, right? External rotation, farther away from the center line of the human being. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Staying Centered. That will almost always be the case on the right side of the body. The most strength and best functionality of the human being is the closest to its own center. So, okay. Yes. A world with no mirrors. What would Michael Jackson do? Right? How are you going to start with the man in the mirror if you can't see him? Well, I think that's kind of why I said those lyrics from Jaden Smith, because really what he was saying in that song is, well, like those lyrics, right? We're inside you and we're calm and yet collective. That's the thing is, it's inside of you. The Spirit of God dwells within all things. It's not worded. The Spirit of God dwells on the surface of some stuff. If it wears makeup. Do you see what I mean? That's as real as it gets, dude. All of a sudden I'm like, pulling my katana out again, cutting through people, The truth pierces you to the very center. A world with no mirrors, though. I mean, everything's either inside you or you're looking around at it. But there's no surface level that could be had. Yeah. I mean, you'll see it, though, and again, this is me. I'm not going to say it out of me watching other people then, because I'm going to say it out of me personally. I used to have it, the cars that were customized in a way that was visually appealing, right? So the paint wasn't. It was nice and, right, appealing. It wasn't appealing because it was appealing, because it looked all nice. Paint for a car is essentially makeup for a human being. I was talking to my mom the other day about a similar thing to that, because, well, we were talking about makeup, actually, that day, just a couple days ago. And she was saying, yeah, we can express ourselves in certain ways. And I was like, yeah, but no, you can't. Not through something like makeup. Because you're just what you are. And anything you add to the exterior of you could potentially leave, right? The car's paint. That's why I furthered into this, because the paint on a car can entirely peel off and the car will still function just as well. And it's still exactly what it was, although the thing that was placed on it last added to it once it was fully complete, which is the paint, can come off with no effect to the vehicle. A human being was designed by God. I'm going to sit on that for a second. In the image of Jesus Christ. By him. God himself. And we can choose to paint it. You ever tried to put makeup on with no mirror in front of you? You're just sitting there, like, just staring off at something, and you got a paintbrush going across your human flesh on your face, right? Can we see some things as they are? Because it's hard to unless you take all the makeup off. You're making things up is really what's happening. Talk about accusations that Evan Strong has toward other human beings. Holy cow, is he self-righteous? See what I'm saying? You're making up an image of what you want to be. It's like a clown. Talk about poodles. I love them. The dog breed. To splash in water. Poodle, it's French. Yikes! I love it. Yeah, really, I love it so much. And that's humbling in itself. I stuttered. That's so real. I love poodles. Golly. All right, here's the thing. Check it out. Poodles, they call them clown dogs sometimes because they were used in circuses at times. They're very smart. Second smartest dog breed as far as, statistically, the way they measure that, at least at this time period on the earth. And very trainable. But the thing is, clowns, they wear makeup to be portrayed as something that they are not. Right? But a world without mirrors, you're not going to go around and be able to even... I mean, you see what I mean? I don't even think I need to finish that thought because it's just that real. You're turning yourself into a clown. I stutter when things humble me. I don't stutter very often. And when I when I get a little bit speechless, it's like, yeah, I'm saying some stuff that's like, I mean, it pierces you to the very center, the truth. That's it, You're the same person, whether you had an opportunity to see what that was or not. I stuttered through that word, bro. I do not stutter very often. I just think it's so real, I think, especially women nowadays in modern day, they don't think they're beautiful unless they fake it. Wow. I kind of intentionally faked that because, see what I mean? That's what you're doing. You put makeup on yourself, and I think well, I'll finish that. I just don't want to start not finishing sentences just because how humbled I am by this. It's just so real, dude. But that's the thing, I mean, you put makeup on yourself and you've now played a character, right? You've become the clown. Oh, gosh. Talk about being real. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Being Real. You can't be real if you fake it. Clowns are playing a role. They're playing a character. And actually, in a lot of cases, it's very scary. Talk about Evan Strong with the katana. A lot of clowns got chainsaws, bro. Yikes, right? I mean, I understand some people, that's a little bit frightening because, well, here's the thing. Let me unpack it because, let's look at it as it is. That's what I'm saying right here through this whole episode 94 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled A World Without Mirrors. The reason why clowns are scary is because you don't know what's really underneath that mask. Right? This is funny. Scooby-Doo. I don't know who made Scooby-Doo, or I'd give the creator of it credit. But whoever did, shout out to you. Shout out to you. I figured I better shout because, I was shouting out to them. Probably can't hear me from where I'm currently at. I don't know if they're still alive or what. Whoever actually made Scooby-Doo or thought it up first. But what happens is it's a mystery show. And they go around and see people wearing masks. And they capture the person who's pretending to be something else. And they remove the mask and find out who that person really is. And then there's a phrase within Scooby-Doo that says, "And I would have gotten away with it too, if it weren't for you meddling kids." Check this out. In the gospel of Jesus Christ, there's no way that you can enter the kingdom of heaven unless you humble yourself and be as a little child, right? Children are alive in Christ, it says in the Book of Mormon. We don't get baptized in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints until we're 8 years old, because then we're not even held accountable, because children are sinless, because they came from God. Until they get indoctrinated into the world, they're just pure. You know. I mean, right? But really, right? So, that's cool. Again, literal. The gospel of Jesus Christ. It's literal. It's literally the truth of all things. I'm not trying to make it something it isn't. You know what's cool, though, is you can see how much that did for me to massage the side of my head. Even that that breath right there was so real. I mean, a breath of fresh air, in all seriousness, yeah. But that's the thing, right? We're wearing masks if we're trying to look a certain way. Even a hairdo is an essential mask. Not an essential one to have. It's essentially a mask. You know? But that's the thing, is poodles, it kind of looks like they have a mask sometimes with that traditional poodle cut where their face is really shortly trimmed. Because poodles have hair. They don't have fur like a lot of other dogs do. It's more similar to how human beings have our hair. It'll just continue to grow if you don't groom it. And so the face will be cut so short, and then they'll have this like top puff ball, basically, right? The top of their head is longer, and then their ears are longer. And so their face, it's so different than the rest of their body. And yeah, human beings. You see some people, dude, and talk about sounding judgmental, but actually being entirely just the most kind that I could be, or any human being, because what I'm saying is authentic you is the best, because I didn't decide. I didn't design it. I can't decide it, right? The episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we didn't design it. We can't decide it. The human being in the image of God, by and through God, Jesus Christ himself, is how and who we were designed, right? As real as it gets, as we talk about. This is real, dude. Very real. We are real. In the Image Clothing Company. Yes. Shout out to NF. He's got a company and his whole label was real music. But he, talked about how at times he doesn't feel so real. All right, cool. Talk about the human condition. It's a little bit relatable, Nate. Shout out to him. Good man. I haven't personally met him, but he's done a lot for me through his music. But yeah, dude, I mean, those clown dogs, what I was saying is human beings, sometimes you'll see, talk about things that say, I'm trying to beat around the bush, and I shouldn't do that. But I also shouldn't sin, and I do. What I'm saying is, sometimes you'll see women, dude, yikes. He's sounding accusations, right? That's why I'm beating around the bush, but I shouldn't, because it's just as real as it gets. But yeah, you see women, they put makeup on, and their face is like an entire different shade of color than the rest of their body. It's like, you are wearing a mask. And I'm saying that on the opposite end of an insult. Take your mask off. Really. Right? I mean, the reason hunters wear blinds or, put up blinds, like I was talking about earlier, the reason why, check this out, over my right shoulder, this is a blind, we call it. This is a window, and there's this thing that can raise up and down. It's blinding us from what's outside. The hunters are blinding the birds from the potential, from getting shot from the hunter, but just meaning the truth of it, right? The hunter's the one hiding. They're blinding them. That's I'm not quite phrasing it right, but I'm saying it how it is. Yeah, right? Meaning the hunter is intentionally putting something in front of it to blind the truth of what the hunter is from the bird. The blinds on our windows blind us from seeing what's outside. They blind the outside world from seeing into the house or the building where the blind is placed in between, right? Makeup blinds people from seeing the only true you. And really what it does is it blinds yourself. Because now you get this like false attachment to the way you look when you put on a show. And then you go around feeling like you have to put on a show. Wow, you've done it to yourself. Take some accountability. That sounds so harsh, but it's the truth. It is. If we start thinking that we're so important, we won't feel so good. And, I mean, a world without mirrors, you don't even get the opportunity to know how you look. So it doesn't matter because you're still you regardless. Right? Let me throw a hypothetical. Let's say somebody started a makeup company. 30 years into it, it's booming. Right? Like in the Image Clothing Company one day. Booming. Although we will never sell any kind of thing like that. But right, this person, they spent 30 years, let's say, this hypothetical human being we're talking about. And let me be very clear. The reason I was saying In The Image Clothing Company will never, and I said that pretty bold, have anything like that, is because what I say about how our clothing will be. The whole point of In The Image Clothing Company clothing is to almost disappear, as far as we'll be entirely modest and covered, but in the ways that we need to, right? I mean, you're wearing a short sleeve shirt, you're not entirely covered, but what I mean is our clothing will disappear as far as what we notice. It's like me, when I stand, you notice my body as far as its functionality. You notice that I look natural because I'm not being altered. Ooh, what are we doing when we put makeup on our face? We're altering the only way we actually look. Phrasing. I like phrasings. I like literal phrasings that people sometimes don't see. I'm a people. Sometimes I don't see stuff, right? But, times and places. And in this time, I'm telling you, the best place to be is authenticity. So let's see if we can remove some things, the makeup. Stop making things up. What I'm saying, though, is within the human body, I was going to relate it to basically exactly the phrasing I just said, but then I got going with some wordplay, and I don't remember quite where I was as of right now. But, altering, right? I say, ideally, no alteration to the human body's function from clothing. So, right, all these things, that's why I love words. Sometimes I say, I'm going to play with some words today, because I do. I play with some words, dude. But what I will continue to say is what I have been about this hypothetical person 30 years into a makeup company that they founded and started, let's say. And it got all successful. And they were so used to wearing their products and having the ability to paint their face to look how they have the intention of it being out of them wanting it to be something that it isn't, nor ever could actually be, because it's not them, it's added to them, it's altering their only visual state of being, right? Just meaning it's a mask. And then let's say after these 30 years of booming business go by, this person gets in some kind of like house fire. And all of a sudden they've got 3rd-degree burns, which is just severe burning, right? All over their face. And now they can't paint their face to look the same as they were doing throughout that 30-year time they had their company booming. Well, that person might have a pretty big old wake-up call. As in someone will call them and say, hey, your company's not doing so hot anymore because you don't look it. Whoo! Because they got some surface level people looking at the thing that gets removed. before you go to sleep at the end of the night. Holy heavens. I'm going to wrap it up. We are In The Image Clothing Company. Oh my gosh, that was unreal. My name is Evan Strong. I'm the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today's the 4th of April, 2025. We will have clothing available when we do, staying centered, fitting correct, made out of 100% natural materials. That's how we will allow, keyword, the human body to work. If you'd like to purchase it, do all you can to get it in a size that is yours. Oversized clothing will damage you severely. I say such bold things. You don't gotta care. You don't gotta believe it. But if it's true, it's true. Not everything that I always say is, because I'm sinful by nature. But naturally, I look how I do before I place anything onto me that we could call anything that's not us. Right? Makeup, extra fancy clothing. And things placed onto you can be like your car or your house as well, or even just a word that we like to call a brand name. Oh, speaking of which, let's talk about that, at least for, right now. I say I wrap it up, but who knows? I don't right now. But this is what I'm going to talk about. In the Image Clothing Company clothing, as I've said since the founding of In the Image Clothing Company in September of 2024, and it was the 23rd day of that month, which is the 9th out of the 12. I've said, because it'll be the case, we will not have branding on the exterior of our clothing. No brand name, no logoing. It'll be on the inside, yes. And I think it'll be kind of cool, actually, the way we have it on the inside. For uniqueness, not for being seen, because you don't see the inside of clothing when you're wearing it. But then you can take it off and look at it and be like, man, this is a cool design, right? Yeah, see what I mean? As real as it gets, bro. In the Image Clothing Company. I'm trying, I'm messing up as I do it. Yeah. Cool. All right, yeah. We'll wrap it up. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. We'll wrap it up. I think I need to play a little bit of guitar, but not in this episode anymore. Just meaning I'll get another guitar. As I mentioned at the beginning, crazy things with nylon strings from me. I'm really good. Am I overconfident? I love it. I'm excited. I'm so grateful for this. I am so humbled. I think you can tell. This is unreal. I've been able to do this, man. I'm sitting on the floor of a house that I don't pay rent in. I'm sitting against a wall, and not even a flat wall against my back. There's a windowsill that my scapulas, meaning the rear of my shoulders, will hit into if I try to put them back. I don't need to. I mean, I'm comfortable where I am. I just mean it's an unconventional place to be doing something like this for a company this big, impact-wise. All of a sudden, you got 7 billion plus people checking us out because it'll help every single one of them. Grateful, dude. Humbled within all my pride. So, check out the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Tomorrow's what we call General Conference. It's also the next day as well. That would be Saturday and a Sunday in April of 2025. Bi-yearly is what they say, right? 2 times a year we have the head people of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They deliver some beautiful messages to us and talk about our God as he is, as we do here under In the Image Clothing Company. And no human being will ever be perfect at doing that, whether it's Moses or... I feel like Moses is a big name, man. He did some big things. Parted some big waters. But the point is, right, he didn't do it himself. It was God working through him. So there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled As a Vessel. And that's really the only thing that cool things happen by is if we're being used as a vessel. And so that's what's going to be happening tomorrow and the next day. General conference. You know, the prophets and apostles and the laymen, if you will, meaning all the people in between, every human being, we're equals, every one of us, the prophet down to the janitor, right? The CEO down to the dude reading his first passage of scripture. I like how I phrased those. I kind of like mixed them with each other. That's cool. Yeah, I love that because it's the truth. No matter what, I mean, whoever you are, we're being used as a vessel to deliver the words of our God, and he will speak through us. And so when we listen to prophets, it's not them, it's God speaking through them. And so it's actually a huge privilege to be able to have General Conference and have these people who are very devoted disciples of Jesus Christ, sinful as well. Right? We need to remember that. We have to. I'm not telling you something, but out of like something that I'm trying to get you to see. I'm stuttering when it's real. We have to remember that because it's not an opinion. The greatest, most righteous prophet to ever be is sinful as well. The only sinless one is Jesus Christ, our God. So there's a little bit of, I don't know how to word that exactly. I'm humbled by this episode. It's so amazing to me, specifically personally. I love it. I don't speak. I mean, I'm not speaking currently. I don't speak like this often. I'm very, very, very good at speaking. You don't gotta believe nothing, but I got 94 podcast episodes under my belt on the company that I've founded, In the Image Clothing Company. It's when I get so humbled by things, that's what it's the phrasing. Again, I love phrasings. Being speechless, it's literal. I mean, it happens, right? I get convicted about the truth of, how sinful I am. I took my records out of the church for a little bit, about 13 months. 13, the number in itself is significant. Holy, right? Golly, man. And now I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints again. And, I mean, we got General Conference tomorrow, and it's a privilege. And at times I was looking at it as like something that was like almost evil. Talk about perceptions and talk about truth and talk about things as they are. Evan Strong sits here and talks about this stuff. In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Talk about wrapping it up. Talk about the after party. Talk about the third party, Jesus Christ. The vestibule, the space in between, apart from all things. You got opinion versus opinion, and there you go. Right? Spending a little bit more time because it's not our timing. Take a break or two. Slow it down a bit. All of a sudden, you're in the truth. Thank you. Oh, shoot. I tried to cut it, dude, because I'm just like, man, I feel like I should be done. And so I'm like trying to force it, like have some like dramatic ending, but I just got more to say, I guess. Or in all seriousness, and hear this correct, because this is just how it is, Jesus Christ has more to say through me. It's not about me, and I can't make that something it isn't. I can't try to sound all fake humble when the stuff that I say is just as real as it is, when it is, right? I mean, it's so crazy, dude. It's amazing, dude. And I said in one of these past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, if the more we can get devoted to Jesus, I'm telling you, when I stutter, bro, oh my gosh, I'd love it so much. The more we can get devoted to Jesus Christ, and we will always be sinful in this life, but just meaning we're trying, and we're learning more on how to, even if we're sinning even more in times as we continue. And that's weird, but the paradoxical gospel of Jesus Christ, it is what it is. It's the truth of all things. I've said what happens is you almost kind of like don't exist anymore, And we get to this point where, you get more and more, at least, less focused on you. And it's like sometimes you don't even think about yourself as being something. And that's what I mean, a world without mirrors, right? You go through life, and what if there was no focus you could have on yourself because you couldn't even see really all it is a representation of who you are within a reflection. And in that case, then all there is what's there and not your perception, see? And so now you can, clearly, right? I can see clearly now the rain has gone. When I sing, I usually do it in a voice that's kind of like mocking. I'll do freestyles with the guitar and I'll do it like that. Also, since I'm a bass, all these songs that are so popular, the majority of them are like tenor parts, and that's very high for me. So, yeah, man. It is what it is, dude, and I guess I will. Maybe not. I reached for it a second time. I want to play some guitar, but only if, Only if. It's funny too, man. I mean, I think what stops people from doing stuff that's creative, like music or art, is, they're essentially looking in a mirror the way that I've been talking about it. Listen to my slang all of a sudden. I am getting crazy humbled in this, dude. I feel like a giddy little kid. I love it because this is as real as it gets. I think, man, we can't be looking. Yeah, I'm humbled, dude. Humbled. When I'm saying that, I'm saying the D on the end because it's happening to me. I'm not trying to claim to be. Yeah. What I will say is the other end. I'm very prideful. But when you're making music, you can't be looking at yourself. I'm looking away from the guitar as I'm saying it. I'm like, I can't even look at this thing, dude. I think that's probably one of the things, I'm like, if I pick this up and all of a sudden I can't play it so fluent after I say I'm such a good guitarist, well, it doesn't matter. People look at their art and they judge themselves for it. It's essentially like them looking in a mirror and judging themselves and trying to make them be something they're not. They'll try to make music that's not authentic to them because they think that way maybe somebody else could like it because they're trying to make it be what they think it should. And so I make a lot of music that's very off-tempo, and I sing pretty off-key at times, especially, right, at this time period. And who cares? It's real. Real music. Shout out to NF. Man. Therapy Session. That's a song he has. Yeah. Yeah, I'm literally, you see me looking away from this guitar. It's like I'm ashamed of it. I think it's a big thing, like, how good I really actually am at playing. It's what I was saying earlier about that unworthiness, I mean, I was talking to this wonderful woman in my life. I'm going to say it like that. A few days ago, and I was, she was talking to me about somebody who, they were going to, yeah. Anyway, what we were talking about is some people will never be as good as somebody else at something, even if the person who's so good at it doesn't do any practice, and the other person that just can't seem to get so good is practicing all the time. That's how I feel with guitars. That's what I mean with that kind of like unworthiness. Like, man, regardless of like right now how broad my repertoire of being able to play is, it's just natural. It comes so natural to me, and it's such a gift. I stuttered like at the end of that word. Talk about being humbled. Yikes. Man. I think I have to, I mean, I'm being prompted, man. I'll play something. Yeah. Again, when I do stuff like that, I'll hit against something as I'm speaking. I'll stutter. Those kind of things are when I'm like really convicted. It's like, it's as real as it gets, dude. I'm amazing. Oh, gosh. I love it. Shout out to Jim Carrey. Oh, man. I didn't yell that time. When I shouted out Scooby-Doo and the creators of it, I actually shouted a little bit. Sometimes, dude. Sometimes I get yelling. It happens, brother. It happens. I could be talking to my sister as well, say the same thing. Just because we're equals. Male and female. Black, white, bond, and free. The person that's got the mirrors and the person who doesn't. The clowns out there and the poodles with a little bit longer hair on the face. As real as it gets. Yeah. I mean it, dude. I mean it. I really mean it. Oh, man. The amount of gratitude, too. I mean, that helped me so much physically. What I did, and it's documented within episode 94 of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. A Life Without Mirrors. Except the title is actually literally worded exactly A World Without Mirrors. But yeah, what I was doing here to release the side of my skull above my right ear helped me so much. I have been in, you could use the word agony. Oh, gosh. In the past little bit here, dude. It has not been fun. But, times and places. You got to go through some things sometimes, and you got to put in the work. And boy, am I putting in work. Don't believe me. Oh, here's the thing. Bruno Mars, he has a song and it goes, "Don't believe me, just watch." Some people don't understand what that means. I remember one person in my life growing up, they said, like, "What does he mean, don't believe me, just watch? Isn't that a contradiction?" Well, talk about the paradoxical gospel of Jesus Christ. Don't believe me, it's happening, right? Look at it as it is. So I just wanted to mention that because I've been thinking about that line from his song. I was trying to think of the title just so I could credit it. But Bruno Mars, he's a musician. And that's what I mean, right? You don't got to believe nothing that we talk about here. You don't have to believe anything in life. There's one of these past few episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast is titled, "Believe It or Not, Don't." Right? So I just give some context on other people say similar things to "don't believe me," and just meaning whether you do or don't. It still is what it is. So, yeah. A world without mirrors, man. I mean, because a mirror could be audibly as well, I mean, a world without being able to hear yourself sing off key. Whoo! A world without being able to hear what you've played back to you because maybe it was recorded. But, like, let's say it couldn't be for some reason, and so it's like a life without mirrors or a world without mirrors, a world without audio recordings. And so you're playing guitar and maybe you think you're so on tempo, and then you hear yourself back, and then whether you are or not, you maybe don't think that you are. You see what I mean? So it's big, dude. A world without mirrors. Yeah. Yep. All right, cool. I love it. Oh, man, dude. It's funny, too. I mean, I say I'm not a steel string guitarist, and I definitely, I'm not. but I mean, just, this is my mom's guitar, and it's cool to be able to have access to be able to play it, and, I'm just so grateful. The intentionality of things like that, of me breaking my, stuttering when I'm humbled. As real as it gets. When I broke Frank the guitar, who you can see in past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, I broke him intentionally, and it was supposed to happen, and times and places. I've said that many times within this, and I've said that a lot, and all the times that I have in documented things under In The Image Clothing Company, because there are times for things and places for things that otherwise shouldn't happen, but are actually entirely correct to be the case in times. We're not in charge. It's not our plan. And it would all be the exact same without mirrors. Meaning the only things that are actually true, which is the only thing that's actually there. Because your makeup's there until it rains. Sometimes when it rains, it pours, and our God fills our cup till it runneth over. I'm gonna play with some words today. You see what I'm saying? Or are you saying what I'm seeing? Because I'm just out here talking about some stuff. And boy, am I grateful too. It's such a gift that I've been given, man, being able to speak so well. I'm just staring at this photograph of the temple up here. It's a drawing. It's actually the temple that's right near where I grew up for, about 16 years of my life. I lived very close to where that temple is. Yes. Yeah. I got convicted. When I said the word temple, I thought about my head right here. There's more to do. I can feel it. All right, dude. That's one thing about me, man, I've been that way my whole life up until this point. I'll say like, I'm going to cut it and then I don't. Or I'm hanging out with someone like, all right, I'm going to leave and then I don't for a while and stuff, because I think a lot of times we just feel obligated, like, is this long enough? Is this too long? And like, what I say earlier, am I overconfident, right? And stuff like that, and it's like, you kind of feel like maybe I should cut it, but I mean, who knows? Maybe the most impactful stuff of the whole episode comes like right at the very end when I had thought I was going to cut it before, I mean, but since I didn't, then I end up saying things that are just great. Right? I mean, just really, I mean it, Talk about that potentially overconfident, self-righteous seeming kid. And maybe not only seeming, but maybe I am, in times and places. That's awesome, dude. It always comes back to the truth. Jack Johnson has a song, and in there he says something, the phrase is anything but the truth. Oh my goodness, Jack Johnson has a song titled oh man, something about the good book is good and that's well understood, so don't even question if you know what I mean. Oh, it's called It's All Understood by Jack Johnson. He wrote the Curious George soundtrack, and yeah, he's an amazing person. Yep. Man, dude, I mean, I love this. I love this thing that I've been given in the Image Clothing Company podcast. Any time of day, and no matter how I'm feeling, I can just sit down here and just speak some things. And I'm talking about things on here that are actually beneficial, and oh man, it's just such a gift. So, yeah. Man. Even this, I mean, even just witnessing me do this and then seeing how my body changes as I'm doing the things that I'm doing and the things that we're, physically founded as when it comes to In The Image Clothing Company, allowing, keyword, the body to work, right? I mean, it's so crazy, dude. Stuff just happens how it's supposed to if we're doing all that we can do within our sins to just be willing to be used as a vessel and being obedient and being willing the best that we can, right? So, just so grateful, dude. I'm in a lot of pain. It kind of hurts worse now after I touched it again, dude. I just don't know exactly what's going on, I mean, I don't. And any aspect of everything, every aspect of anything, and all the ways in between, sometimes I'm entirely lost. But you can't be found if you don't first get a little bit lost. Shout out to Moana 2. No joke. I love that. So much. It's so real, dude. Man. The big thing that it didn't even come out, bro. I was gonna start talking, and guess what I was saying wasn't supposed to be said. So, anyway, thank you for this. I mean, that's a prayer in itself. Thank the listener / viewer if you are. I mean, 25 years old, sitting here on the floor. I don't know. What I mean by that is just I never imagined this being the case. You can never expect what's happening and be sure that you can be right. We'll say it like that. I mean, people got the gift of prophecy in the ways they do, and I'm just saying, we get shocked by things, no matter what. So, here we are. In the last dispensation, in the last days, getting closer and closer to the second coming of our living God, Jesus Christ. Here I am now, a member of the true church again, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'm sitting here doing what I'm doing, dude, so condemn me for it. Because I'm just me. So, I'll probably talk about makeup quite a bit, just as we go throughout In the Image Clothing Company's journey. And so, as accusations as I sound, great. Take it off. It's a mask. It's fake. Yes. Pull my katana back out. I'm going to cut you to the very center. Pierce, even, with the truth. All right? Yeah. All right. I want to make sure I'm actually convicted of needing to cut it before I do, because it's as real as it gets. Yeah, dude. We're styling our lives after things we don't like. That was from another one of my freestyles I did with probably Frank the guitar when I had him. Yeah. Hairstyles, right? They come and go. The human being always remains until they die. And we all do. So. Yeah. All right. Gratitude. So grateful, dude. You catch that rhyme? Yeah. Man, my jaw, dude. I think maybe, playing that guitar as well. Steel strings, dude. Just a very, very slight radius in this here specific guitar. Ideally, it's a little bit more than that. This thing's kind of a vintage guitar. It's from the 1900s. And maybe quite a few decades back into the 1900s. So. I'm gonna play with some words today. I just love that phrase. Yeah, man. Yes, sir. Alright, dude. I just, this is what we're all after, dude, is just being able to sit there and not have to have anything specific happening. Just be able to be content with truth. And here we are. I use that word when I do. Under In the Image Clothing Company, it's a familial place. Not familiar. Otherwise being known as, yeah, I guess so, because, we talk about remembering the truth. The Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit of our God, Jesus Christ, brings the truth of all things to the remembrance of his children. But familial, as in family. In the Image Clothing Company, we, since we talk about things that apply to everybody, it's very inclusive. So, when I say very, I mean every human to ever live. I mean it, so. Yeah, dude. I mean it. It's a place like no other. Meaning, dwelling in the presence of our living God and having a company where we do what we can to notice how I say that, as if we're not so good at it, but to actually try to be good Christians here. I mean, yeah, that's so cool, dude, to say like that. Yeah. It's so funny how I kind of, yeah, yup, I am stuttering again because it is real. Yikes. I feel myself again. I got a beard again. I just feel more content, and I just feel like my priorities are even more in the place that they should be now. Once I got rebaptized a couple weeks ago, I mean, I documented it in the episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled "A Second Time Around." I just feel so much better, dude. I feel like myself again. I did a freestyle a few weeks ago or something, give or take, and I called it. Actually, I don't know what I titled it, but it was something about my 101st birthday. This is the day that I've rehearsed my life for. I don't care about the high scores. Words like that I said in there, and sometimes it feels like the first day of the rest of our life, and that sounds silly maybe, because every day is, but sometimes it really feels like it. And it's unreal to be so undeserving and be given things, I mean, real things, stuff that's actually real, So, yeah. 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 It's crazy. Seriously crazy, dude. I mean, it's like you're being given yourself again, It's like somebody took you away for a while and finally you've been given back. And that's the thing with anything about mirrors for this episode, right? I mean, anything you place onto you, it's not you. And then once you take it off, it's like you're allowing yourself to come back. And you probably felt gone for a time when you were pretending and trying to be something visually to get people to see, right? Yup. Seriously, dude. So, this is the one that I've rehearsed my life for. Yeah, dude. When I'm looking over like this, at this exact angle, right? I'm looking at that temple. So, humbling. My jaw also hurts quite a bit too, and that's something I'm just kind of like sitting in as well. It's not so fun. Actually, it's the opposite of fun. It's so painful. Yikes. I mean, I've been crying and screaming and pleading, and it's been terrible. So bad. But, sometimes we just gotta go through stuff, dude. Even if we don't want to, especially when we don't want to. So sometimes I'm rhyming just as I'm speaking. I love it. But yeah. I mean, parts of the body just take over, I mean, your upper trapezius muscle isn't allowed to do its job, and so all these other smaller little neck muscles will do all that they can, and well, they just can't play the role of something else. Like you with your makeup on. You offended yet? It's also funny, like, I'm all over the place sometimes, and I'm still just as here at the same time. It's so cool, dude. Cool, dude. Pain is no joke, brother. I understand. I really understand. It's crazy. Yeah. So. This is like a hangout kind of thing, and that's the goal. The goal is natural. So here we are, dude. No GMOs. Organic. Right? Free range, homegrown. Off the beat and path. Yeah. That's got some significance to it. If you know, you know. I feel like I've documented that and why that's something in my life to be said. Exactly how I phrased it, if you didn't quite catch it, right? Yeah. It's somewhere. You'll hear it under In the Image Clothing Company content. I'm almost sure. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. All right, dude. I don't know. I feel like maybe it'll just end up being going until the storage space runs out. It'd be nuts if it was like right now, right? Just because sometimes, But I just feel like I'm not supposed to be cutting it out of my own doings. Meaning, ideally, we're not doing anything out of our own doings, and I don't feel like I should cut it yet. Yeah, dude. So, I went grocery shopping. There's still groceries in the van. Yeah. Meaning all the ones except for one little bottle of chocolate milk that I brought in. So, those will need to be brought in if they're going to be placed into the fridge that's inside the house, right? Huh. Mirrors. Because that's what's happening, right? I mean, we get into relationships and sometimes we call it trauma bonds. Things that remind us of who we think we are, not who we actually are. I'm on tempo even when I'm not. And so that's the point, right? Is people mirror us. Really, what they're mirroring is our perception of our own actuality, but skewed, tweaked. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled So Close. And I talk about how things that are evil are so close to that thing that's actually righteous and good and godly. So, yeah. Thank you.